right, the voice thing, that's new. Wait, I need to record it with speaker view. There we go. Well, welcome everyone. I'm really happy to have you here. This is our May 2021 Jupyter community call. I'm Isabella. I'm going to be hosting today, and I'm really happy to have you all here. Just for context, if anyone hasn't been here or doesn't know, community calls are a place that we try and gather across projects in the Jupyter ecosystem or even in like related ecosystems to share what people are doing, what we're excited about, questions we may have, and just kind of get excited about what we're doing and remember the people that we're working with. So there are two things I want to remind people about though that are important. First, community calls are recorded. You've heard Zoom just say that to you, but just in case you wanted to know. And two, I want to remind you this is a Jupyter event. We are held to the code of conduct, and that includes me. You can find this at any time on jupyter.org/conduct. And if you haven't been here before, we have an agenda I've shared a few times in the chat. I can share it again though. Basically, we're going to follow that. It's pretty empty today, but we do have some short reports of kind of like congrats or this thing happened. And then we'll go on to fuller agenda items where it looks like we might have a different demo on there. So we'll see how that updates. But for now, I want to hand it over. Oh, I'm the first short report, but why don't you start, Darian, so we don't just hear me back to back?
Sure thing. So I missed the last community call and I didn't have an opportunity to say congratulations to the 2020 Jupyter Distinguished Contributors. They've been on the jupyter.org/about page for a little while, but today we published a blog post as well. And I think none of the names there should be surprising to you because these are people in the community who've been around, and recognizing their work is long overdue. So yeah, join me in congratulating everyone. Thanks. Maybe I should read the names, huh?
To you, I was going to post the link you posted.
Yeah, you know what? Why don't we post the link instead of individually calling out people who might not want to be surprised hearing their name just now. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, congrats to everyone though. That's awesome. I'm glad that that is continuing. I know that was the plan, but sometimes things don't go as planned, so glad to see it. Congrats. And next on the list we have Nick. Looks like you have a release to tell us about.
Yes, and if we end up with time, I can do the demo shtick. But I just had to make a poster, and I was looking at my iPad Draw.io, and it didn't have some stuff that I wanted, so revved that this morning, and it now has the sketch theme, which is kind of nice. You lose a lot of the UI, so there's really just, about 5% of your screen is taken up with UI. And it gives you post-its by default, which is funny. So it's not fit for serious work, but it's pretty good at little things. Did a doc site and added an advanced launch. We talked about this with notebooks before, where, sometimes when you start a document, there are more choices than clicking on one launcher tab can have. So I kind of played with that a little bit and what that would look like if you had, at this point, 3 axes, but there's probably 50 more that I could add to it. Yeah, so that's about it. It's pretty fun.
Awesome, that sounds like fun. Right now it still looks like we'll have time to see it, so maybe we'll get to see the default stickies in a moment. Steve, I see you're still kind of editing your comment, but are you ready to give your release update?
Yeah, sure. So we released Jupyter Lab 3.9 recently. When was this? 5 days ago, which is not the first, but one of the first pre-releases that has RTC enabled. So if you want to try it out locally, you can pip install with the pre-flag because it's pre-release, and then launch with the collaborative flag to pick up locally enabled real-time collaboration. So that means you can try it basically in 2 browser tabs on your local machine, or if you can share your connection with another machine on your same local area network, that works too. So work is ongoing to make that scale up to things like Jupyter Hub and other scenarios beyond just collaborating with yourself. But great start, and encourage everyone to try it out and give feedback.
Steve, I had a quick question for you. Is there a way to configure the collaborative stuff with like a Jupyter server config or Jupyter notebook config?
As in static config?
Well, so like I want to start a binder and I want to do the collaborative thing. Can I just like put the -- collaborative thing flag? Can I define that somehow in like a config file?
Let's see. I'm looking at how we do it on Lab. Yes, I just gotta
Cool.
before I say the wrong thing. In the start, you can tell it what to start with, and you can pass arguments there.
Great.
So
Great.
the repo to Docker start file.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve.
Or you could make a config file that it uses as well. So if you look at how we do it in Lab, I'll drop the link here. Basically, just emulate that.
Cool. Rockin'. Thank you.
Wonderful, and thanks for sharing how to install that, because I know I've had a couple people asking, so yay, that's great. I'm the last one on the short report right now, though if you come up with something as I'm talking, go ahead. I wanted to congratulate people. I know there's been a lot of people working on CZI grant stuff and multiple projects across the community, and I don't know, that's really exciting to me that we have people with ideas for projects who are working on them and made it to the second round of that application. So congrats to everyone. Now we have a little time to wait, I know, but honestly, just writing that, I commend you. Great work. So that's what I wanted to say. And maybe that would be a cool share I didn't think about doing ahead of time. Different things that people applied for, so we know what projects are on people's mind. But this is your last chance for short reports, so I'll be quiet for a few seconds and give you some time to consider that. Okay. Sounds like we're ready to move on to the next part. So for the main agenda items, I know I've mentioned a few times we don't have anything, we don't even have anything listed with names now, but we do have a few things on here. First, we have searching notebooks, which I happen to know is probably Tony, RTC question mark, and learning with flashcards, ellipses about stuff. So those are three different things. I'm thinking RTC probably for the end, because I think we'll talk about that for a while. But yeah, and Steve's waiting for Binder to launch, so that's not a rush. But do we want to start with the others, whoever put that there, or are we just waiting? I know the searching notebooks demo is functional. I'm curious.
I mean, I can share it. I'm trying to pose a bigger question. So if you want, I can kill time while the binder's going up. And I like how all the agenda items are question marks. It's sort of like Jeopardy. Like, what is the answer? The answer is okay. I'm gonna start sharing stuff. All right. For those of you that don't know, I make a lot of notebooks, and by a lot, I mean more than most people that you know. And those numbers with like Untitled 100, that's normal for me. I've been up to 1,000 before. So one of the things that I have a specific ability to do is I have a fairly photographic memory. So when I write notebooks, I remember where everything is. But now that I'm getting in the thousands and I'm getting older and I'm getting like 5 or 6 years away from some of the content that I've written, I'm starting to forget stuff and I don't like it. So I wanted to be able to search notebooks effectively. So I think right now we're looking at like 70 or 80 notebooks. So I'm just searching for code cells that have the word IBIS in them. I can search for things that have pandas in them. I can search for cells that import pandas. I can search for markdown cells that say the word pandas. There are really rich searches that we can do. Like we can do structured searches for regular expressions. Right now I'm just looking for simple words. We can search our standard errors. We can search our standard outs. If you notice, this is hanging. It's not async yet. It will be soon. Nick's going to help me, hopefully. But the idea behind here, so in this one case, we're looking for images. This case here, we're looking for markdown cells that have headers in them. So how this works is that at the top level, we have a collection. And this is traitlets all the way down. And in fact, at the top level, it's using large file contents manager to load in metadata about notebooks. So this is a list of all the notebooks that we have indexed. And each of the files, like whether it's a notebook, an image, code, or anything else, they're all represented as notebook cells. So like an image is a code cell with a display of image PNG and stuff like that. So what we can do, and the reason all this works, is that it's Dask all the way down after the traitlets top class. So we can use the notebook format to basically shape all of our entries in our search. So at the top level, we get cells and metadata. We have another Dask data frame, which is all of the cells. So a notebook is multiple cells, an individual file is one cell, so on and so forth. We have the displays, including the errors, the display data, the standard errors, the standard outs, and then we have more display data here. So we can search every feature of a notebook, potentially. And my question for the room here is, what would you search for? Like, I don't think that this has necessarily been something that we play around with. But, you know, what are ways that you could think about searching effectively across your own notebooks or your organization's notebooks is where I want to leave this discussion.
Can you ask that question slightly differently? I'm not exactly sure what sort of answer you're looking for.
Yeah, like if you're a data analyst in your organization, or you're a new employee in your organization, or blah, 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 what kinds of things would you search for? Right now, we use a lot of SneakerNet, right? Where it's like, hey, do you have a notebook that does this? But what questions would we ask around notebooks is kind of what I'm thinking, right?
So the sort of things I can imagine searching for are when I have like a vague recollection of some API. Maybe I remember the function call, but I don't know how to use it. I don't even remember which of the packages it came from. So, you know, this isn't a notebook specific thing. This is more just like a tech or code type thing. Like today, I just wanted an example of how to use a function, and I just searched a folder for that function, open parens, hoping somebody had done it recently that I could look at. That's the kind of thing I feel like I do a lot. I'm not sure if that's a common experience.
Yeah, I love that. Like, how do you search for partial memory almost, right? Like, I vaguely remember doing this thing. How do I find it? And I think a lot of us who've done a lot of notebook stuff and a lot of software development often find ourselves in that situation. Like, did I write this little script in the actual module, or did I just write this somewhere else? The other way I'm curious about looking at this stuff is from the teaching perspective. Is there a different way to teach about notebooks through search? If we could search with IPython Magics or through Jupyter Lab, and it's like, hey, go search for the syllabus, and we find the syllabus and we get started. Yeah, I'm curious if anybody else has any other positions they might want to search from.
I would say also searching for data sets that are used within different notebooks. You know, I remember I used this data set. I can't remember where the notebook is. So same as what you were thinking.
Right, yeah, so like find me a cell that does read CSV and has some URL with a CSV in it or something like that. I need to remember how I made this data set. Exactly. And that's one of the things where, you know, we're talking about Paco, referencing Paco a little bit earlier. I think one of the places that's largely underused in the notebook is the metadata. So we could extract from, say, a Pandas data frame or a Dask data frame that this does come from this file, and put that in the metadata, and now we know that this table relates to this actual file. So some of this, I think, is going to actually inform how we put data into the notebooks.
Yeah, and I mean, I've long wanted to be able to mix, you know, Tony, mix and remix cells in a notebook from other notebooks. So I could
Right.
see if you're authoring educational content that you search for everything that has, like, I don't know, a derivative or something in it if you're teaching a calculus class, and then you look at the examples and see, okay, this is the best of the bunch, I'm going to go with this.
Love that. I love that. So one of the nice things, and I didn't demonstrate this today because it winds up becoming very divisive. All the markdown files we can turn into MIST NB tokens. All of the Python we can turn into Python tokens. So effectively we can go, now that we have data frames, we can just go and take a search, get a data frame and render a notebook from it. No problem. It's actually a very short distance between these two searches. So I love that idea of remixing notebooks. Thank you all for the feedback. If anybody else has anything or anybody else wants to talk about anything, I find, how do you pronounce divisive?
All right, so this started about 10 years ago. The canonical pronunciation is divisive, but now so many people have said divisive that it's starting to become part of our language. So I'm gonna stop complaining about it as vocally as I have been for the last decade because I lost this battle.
I'm sorry, man. I have no respect for the English language, so pronunciation is neither here nor there for me. Tomato, tomato. Yes, indeed, indeed. Well, thank you all. I appreciate your time. And if anybody comes up with any ideas or anybody's like, oh, I'd love to be able to search this way, let me know. I'm really curious to think about this because, man, imagine if we had like millions of notebooks that we could just search. That would be incredible. We do. We just can't search them yet.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I've been enjoying seeing how that demo evolves too, so that was cool to see. And we do have RTC ready, Steve says. So if y'all are ready to hop into that binder, we can go. I don't know I don't know in terms of recording if this seems like something I should record or not. Any thoughts on that? Or we're just recording our responses?
Yes.
What I've noticed
like
is
screen record.
Yeah.
What I've noticed has been really effective is to have, when we do these RTC things, is have the RTC open and just have everybody talking. Because like the visceral experience with like some people getting this the first time is cool.
Let's see if I'm sharing the right thing. That looks like it to me.
That's it.
Okay, awesome. Here we go. RTC. Wow. I'm looking to see if anybody's breaking anything yet. No. Are you all being polite because it's a recorded community call?
I'm waiting for it to load.
Oh, okay. It's like on other RTC demos, people have instantly tried to test the limits, which is great.
It's pretty cool to be able to see like the things just pop up on the screen, on your screen.
For people who haven't worked with this before, do you have any first reactions, if I may ask?
Maybe folks don't know what's going on. Maybe we should yeah, so like right now in the first cell, this is a heading. So if Isabella were to jump in here or somebody else were to jump into this cell and start typing, they'd be getting the same thing. So all the cells are collaborative. So yep, there you go. So I wonder if there's two people typing in that cell.
And are we sharing outputs? I don't remember. I remember this was a discussion. Like when I run that, does it run for other people?
Yeah, we're sharing outputs.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, we should get some of these fun CSS style things in here. Let's go and grab those ones that we played around with the other day, Isabella.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, we were testing. Well, Tony was testing. I shouldn't say we, probably. Tony was testing because when he has some stuff that you can run that'll change the HTML in the notebook that you're currently in, And so since we were talking about sharing outputs, he was testing, like, does it change everyone's look of how the notebook is set up, or just when that person runs it? Yay! Yeah, this is really amazing, right? People have been asking for this for a very long time. It's awesome to see it happening. Also,
The output, run that cell, Isabella. Because it didn't update, so the outputs aren't necessarily shared. I
so
don't
wait,
think.
before I run it, because I know what this is, how do I undo it after if I don't want to leave things rotating infinitely?
You hit Escape M. This one doesn't rotate.
It says rotation.
Oh, never mind. It might. Yeah, there you go. So we changed the logo to a little text, and our file browser is a little rabbit now. But yeah, if anybody wants to play around with CSS, here's a way.
You found that notebook very quickly too. Anyone else who hasn't said anything yet? Try and make space for that.
Let's see what widgets do. Are widgets wired up across RTC?
There is a widget output. The from Lorenz, solve Lorenz should have a widget output.
Cool. Oh, it does have an interactive. Cool.
Yeah. So
nice.
If you scroll down, Isabella, do you see that output a little bit more? Oh no, you just see.
So yeah, so run 35. And then
there we go.
I'm going to drag Sigma. And it does not update. Okay.
Yeah, so you gotta you basically you have to have the declaration in one cell and then the actual output to the display in a second cell.
Okay.
And then so if you split W equals and whatever, yeah, right.
All right.
And now you both got to run. One person runs the first cell, and then everybody runs the second cell.
Okay, I'm gonna run the first cell. Everybody run the second cell.
Boo.
Boo. Very boo. There you go. All right. Now I'm gonna drag, and it does not update. All right, we'll figure that out. But anyway, that'll be radical when it works.
So maybe asking less about this notebook. I know people have been asking for RTC for a long time for a lot of different cases. Do we have people here who are excited about it for different reasons? Or did people not even know that this was happening? That might be a good question too. I'm just going to be quiet today. That's okay.
This is very impressive.
It is, isn't it?
I would say thanks, but I didn't do it, so I feel like I shouldn't. But yes, thanks to the people who worked very hard on this.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. You know, I do a lot of different kinds of contents that aren't notebooks, although they usually can hide inside of notebooks. So I think the plan, if the situation is very straightforward, to be able to create shared experiences without having to have it be a notebook or whatever, you know, a lot of things will be possible. So, you know, we got a guy that had his DOSBox emulator running inside a lab, right? So, you know, we could just hang out and play with some shared buffers and play Mario Kart or something like that, right? Or probably not Mario, more like Joust. Let's think about Joust first. But, you know, stuff like that will be very possible. You know, and it's just there's like the pipes are there, you know, and it's going to be about building the correct trust for the correct application, right? So this will feel great for grading a paper. You just open up the live paper, you know, during a course, but maybe that teacher can't do certain things, right? So, you know, they can do annotation, but you know, maybe they can't actually edit the content. So there's different layers of this, you know, which model are you exposing at this minute, and to whom, and what permissions do they have? But we got to get the pipes first.
Right. Yeah.
Is this working in Markdown files? Like if you open the Markdown file, will that work?
Let's see.
All right, this is
Oh,
interactive.
Yeah.
Yep, that's radical.
Sorry,
See,
that's
like,
exciting.
see, this interface to me is actually more palatable. Like, because if you were to right click and open up real-time rendering, let's check that out.
Yeah,
Show
it works.
Markdown. Yeah, show the Markdown preview.
Oh, okay, and see if it updates.
Yeah,
We're
and then
doing HackMD comparisons.
But
yeah,
it
because
doesn't-
then
it
it
inherits
doesn't
the,
update.
Yeah.
No, it does. It inherits the 300 millisecond debounce.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Very
Oh,
cool.
okay.
So I can
Nice and
actually.
flashy seems like potentially inaccessible. We'll figure that out when we get there.
No,
I
if you
could.
If
Good.
you go hit your settings, you can turn that down
Okay.
and just have it like, rah.
Good to know. Thank you.
I could see onboarding people into Jupyter Lab this way, like people familiar with Markdown.
So we gotta, yeah. I mean, we gotta get in Markdown it, so that we can have sync scrolling. Marked is a kind of a hot pile these days, and so if we had Markdown it, we would know which line corresponded to what's being edited, so you would get your consistent view of it, right? But then, there's also the code mirror bindings for YJS, right? So, we fire that back up and now you're good to go.
Also, I just saw in the chat there's a bunch of responses to things I was asking. Thank you, everyone. It's good to hear the positive feedback. RTC is cool. Do we?
So
oh,
what's
wait,
what's the plan over the next year for? Because like we did the road mapping and stuff. What's the plan for RTC and how does like the project expect it to like evolve over say the next year before we get to 4.0?
I know there's some UI I want with it. I don't like not being able to know who's in a notebook, but I also know that there's some people working on that.
Yeah, there's also a lot of thought that needs to be done about the two auths, authentication and authorization, and the use cases that are hub independent and also the use cases that are hub dependent, right? So there's a lot of ways people are going to be hitting this real-time collaboration functionality and a lot of different sorts of security concerns around who can write files, who can write to the same, and who can execute on the same kernel, what the visibility looks like, those sorts of things. So there's like as a working proof of concept that you can do real-time collaboration in Jupyter Lab, this is awesome, and we're seeing it happen. As a thing that organizations with security needs can put into production, we still have a ways to go.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, one of the key things that you'll have today is, you don't share your own token. Don't share your own token with everybody, but you would be able to have two devices working, and that's already worth the price of admission, right? So, I'm connected to it from my tablet because I can generate a QR code that I can take a picture of with my tablet. And even if I can't do everything, I can do some things, right? I can move sliders and stuff like that. So that's still a big deal.
So
Hey,
what
guys.
does? Yes.
Sorry, this is Frederick. I just put in the chat a link. There is David on our site that is working on demonstration of coding an extension, adding authentication through GitHub for Jupyter Lab. So then you know who is logged, and you have some information on the authors that are currently working. That's a dirty prototype, but yeah, as it was said, there are some people working on that.
Great.
Very cool. So I'm curious what this looks like in the Jupyter Lite context also, right? Because Darian mentioned Jupyter Hub, Jupyter, and I feel like Jupyter Lite's like a third flavor of variant now. So what happens to the world in Jupyter Lite and RTC?
Well, so unless Jeremy's here, I can't tell who's here.
Yep, I'm here.
Go for it, man. You did the darn work.
Yeah, wait, let me check. So, so we got it to work with Jupyter Lite because now the provider that we are relying on for basically syncing everything, we can just swap it to use something else. And let me see if that is still up or not. So there is this pull request in Jupyter Lite, but today I just pushed. Yeah, I just pushed a commit to not have it by default using the same collaborative flag. But without it, you will get RTC also, but then that will be available to anybody connected to the same Jupyter Lite deployment. But we could imagine having some kind of token passed in the URL, and someone could just create a new link and then send it to someone else. And on page load, could just read that token and then connect them to the same RTC room of some kind, or maybe using a QR code like Nick was saying. I think it's pretty much open for now, but at least the basing, the building blocks are in, so that's great. Yeah.
I don't understand how this is possible. I thought Jupyter Lite was purely running in your browser. How is what I type communicating to your session?
So you can use different types of providers with YJS. And for this demo, we're using the WebSocket provider, using the YJS demo link. So I think it's it's somewhere in the code. So you could use this, but you could also use something else like a WebRTC provider. Yeah. So you don't need the handler we have in lab anymore. You could use something else. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So WebRTC allows me as a client to talk to another client peer-to-peer without any intermediation. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I haven't tried it with Lite, but I would expect that to work as well. And maybe another thing that would be cool to explore is that what Nick was mentioning on some other channels, maybe using the Jitsi API. I'm not sure, it might require some work because you need to also implement the YJS protocol, but that could also be another way to do it. Like basically you probably need another kind of service to sync everything. Yeah.
There is a so under the hood, Jitsi does expose XMPP. You kind of got to dig around for it, but there is a YJS XMPP connector. So you have a room, right? But you might still have to do some additional finagling on top of that. But yeah, I mean, I see it being a model where like there is an owner of a document and they share that document. It's not a thing that like I turn on lab and everything's shared. And like, what the hell just happened? I'm just sharing everything. So, I see a much more intentional thing, share with Jitsi this room, share with, my hedge doc backend this room, any of those things that we can get wired up. Because I think putting off into lab is not a good idea. I just don't feel very good about that. We do a lot of jumping jacks and other places to keep secrets out of Jupyter Lab because it's so easy for them to end up, stored someplace, right? And they end up in a notebook and then everything goes to hell, right? So, if the further down we can push auth in, auth z into the pipe, the happier we're going to be, right? So that's my feeling on that. But yeah, I'm very excited about that one because then we've immediately got context. You're in a lab, I'm in a lab, somebody else is in a lab, right? We have the same file system, we know what's going on. And now the sharing can kind of start and we know what it's going to look like, right? And then people's faces, I mean, Zoom is, Zoom is the 800-pound gorilla, but you can't deploy Zoom in your company, right? You buy Zoom. You lease your data getting shared with Zoom. Versus Jitsi, you can run that in-house. You can run it on a laptop. You can run it off the back of a truck. So, as we start playing in this space, everybody else is selling software as a service, notebook revisioning, whatever. It can't look like that, right? You can't require someone to pay someone in order to get access to your shared data. So the first party stance, because everybody remember all the times we worked with Google? Oh, that's right. They always burnt us, So we basically can't plan on any of that stuff. There's got to be a fallback.
Hey, thank you both for that.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to call on Sebastian. Go ahead, Isabella. You're mediating.
Oh, well, Sebastian asked a really good question in chat that I was going to read, and it was, how do extensions work with this shared notebook? If I install an extension, do others get it as well? I want to say no, but someone else who knows more should probably answer that.
I'll take a stab there. No, it's not going to work. So you'll get outputs of a MIME type that you don't understand. You'll get widget models that you don't know how to dereference. All that kind of stuff will all break. So the closer we can get to standards, the better it'll work. So if you write an extension, and we've started trying to do this for widgets, Vega already does this, you gotta, if you want this stuff to work long term, you have to push it into a standards compliant media format container. So that's either HTML, PNG, JPEG, GIF, SVG, all that nonsense, right? So that'll be those, real standards, real well-known MIME types. Those ones will work. And all this custom filigree junk that we do ain't gonna work at all.
But you were saying like it won't be able to read if you both go in with the same extensions, though. Will that work? Like if you had some kind of environment set up.
Yeah, so that's that's the win on the that's the win on the Jupyter Light piece, right? Like you go to a URL, it's not like Binder. You know exactly what's on that Jupyter Light because you deployed it, right? It's not going to go out to wherever. Well, it is going to go out to CDN, but you definitely have that consistent environment once we get our cache busting set up and all that. But and then Binder Hub, that'll work well. So I'm gonna make a link for a meeting, and that meeting will open up the meeting and connect the one document that we're talking about. So you don't, everyone has trouble starting Zoom, right? So now you compound starting Zoom with starting a computational environment. No way, not going to happen, right? It's not going to make for good meetings. So it's all about not controlling. It's about enabling control of that experience so that it's not surprising, like you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. And, to the accessibility point, right there, this could provide the capability of, I'm going to launch into the full lab experience. Somebody else is going to launch into a terminal experience that we can deliver today through Xterm.js, and they will get basically the same experience. They will see those sales numbers from Q4, right? They may not see the plot exactly the same way, but that's what standard-based pipes let us do, right? Anytime we do something that only works in Jupyter Lab, it only works in that Jupyter Lab that has that installed.
Right. And I saw someone else's name pop up. I don't want to call on you if you don't want to talk, but if you're trying to talk, please go ahead. Okay. Yeah, no, and I know there's some other, just from looking into it a little. Also, I realized we went straight into calling it RTC, and I've met a few people who weren't familiar with what we're doing. We're talking about real-time collaboration. Sorry for the delayed definition if anyone needed that.
I'll give somebody free software if they can tell me what CRDT means.
Oh, you've got answers in the chat.
And of course, there we go. Oh man, I think Darian's upset he lost that race.
So his is right because he has
Well,
replication. He got the R right.
yeah, we said different things.
It's all right. But the thing is,
who's the right one?
Because when you say real time, that really pisses off engineers that make the systems around you work and not kill you, that actually work in real time. It makes them very angry, right? So you know, if you're talking to gnarly engineers and you're trying to sell them on Jupyter, don't call real time, because they will laugh at you. There's nothing real time about a browser at all, right? Like, you know, it is not going to keep you safe in case of a fire.
Yeah, but we're talking about collaboration, which is a human activity, and we are fast enough for real-time human interactions. So we could just contest the meaning of real-time when it's applied to collaboration. I'll pick that fight. I'm into semantic fights. It's all right.
Oh man, yeah. But that doesn't. The thing is that a wire grade protocol that could actually work with a real-time system, with your IoT, with whatever, is actually very interesting, right? So, you know, as we head towards the lower levels of this junk, if there is a C library, if there's a C++ library, if there's a, you know, Rust library, well, nah, forget about Rust, but they're not even safety accredited, so it doesn't matter. But you know, like there is actual value in these things, right? And in thinking about actual hard real time being part of your computational infrastructure. But everybody wants to get out of real time that's in it because it's terrible. It's awful. Awesome demo. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I know, that was great. Thanks for setting that up, Steve, by the way, and Mike for setting up the initial work that let you do that, sounds like. Does anybody else, particularly if you haven't spoken yet and want to, have thoughts on this?
I'm curious if Sarah wants to ask her question.
There was a question
about live collaboration.
Sorry, that was in a reference to not calling it real time.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
That shirt is excellent, by the way, Sarah. The heavy metal, it says heavy metal rules?
One of the last gigs I went to before the pandemic.
Oh man, are you gonna go back to gigs anytime soon?
I have about 3 that keep being rescheduled, so fingers crossed.
Right.
Wonderful. Thanks everyone for jumping in that binder too. It's always cool to see what different things people do, though. Everyone was so polite, probably because we're on a recorded call. But yeah, Nick, did you want to share your whatever the learning with flashcards about stuff? Question mark.
Learning about stuff.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Let me get on the horn. I'll do the IPy IPy one first because it's less of a pre-good cake. Anyhow, so had diagram before. Now you got custom diagram . Right. You hit custom diagram. Oh my God, there's so much stuff. So these are all the templates that ship with Draw.io. That's why it's 70 megabytes. These are all the formats it supports, and these are all the theme that it supports. So I had one launcher before, but it was awful to try and configure these things. So this is the new one. Let's get this sketchy org chart, and I'm going to store it inside of a notebook. And it's a community call, and bang. If everything works according to plan, there it is. There's my thing. And so it's kind of weird because you got to press down Alt to scroll. But you know, if I take this thing full screen, yeah, right. This is where I would actually want to be during a meeting.
And that's lab. Like we're just in lab right now.
We're just in lab. It's an iframe inside a lab because that stuff's crazy. I don't want it anywhere near my DOM. But you get access to Whee! It's a lot better with a mouse, but I'm playing hurt right now, like I always do. Oh, it's got access to all the nonsense, you know, all the shapes that you used to have in there. So, you know, I can put in material, right? Oh, what? Oh, it's called material design or some stuff like that. Menu. I guess it's got a limited subset. There we go. Oh, look, it makes them cute. It makes them cute with different fonts. Oh my God, it's adorable. Anyhow, don't make menus like this, UI people. Anyhow, so that's fun, and it works, and then I can still escape from there and Control-Shift-C and PDF, and let's see what we get. Could be anything. This one always breaks. That looks all right. That looks all right. I could ship that. I could ship that. Okay. So that's first piece, sketch, yada, yada, yada. Nothing else to see, but I've started working on the Jupyter Lab templates for this. So you might drop in Launcher and see, like, make a new Jupyter Lab mockup. Might just kind of tell you get that. All right. So that's IPyDrawIO 1.1.0. And what else? Okay, right. So this is, I'm going to work up to it slow. So imagine you have a zip file that has a database in it. And what the hell are you supposed to do with that in the lab? So what you're going to do is you're going to imagine you had a database. And, you know, let's put that in there. Oh, I got a database. It's awesome. And then I'm going to connect to my database and close it and put in one file. Okay, so now I got this example DB over here. And it's got a little icon. And I open it up, and now it tells me, you know, what I got in there. I got some columns and rows and things like that. So this is actually happening in the browser in WASM. It's a real SQLite, like it's got all the trappings and everything like that. But that's kind of, you know, whatever. So great, now I can read databases, and you know, downstreams can do more stuff with this. I don't care. I just wanted to get the job done. So then we can go look at a zip file. And they didn't import zip file in their option. That's lame. Oh no! Come on. Import zip file. Zip fuel. Zip fuel. Okay, and spam. Sure, that looks good. I'm going to add example DB. Thanks for that extra quote. Oh, come on. It's very quiet. Is people still there?
Yep.
We're here.
Witness.
I need a little noise. Yeah.
I'm judging you a little bit. I feel like you should have used iframes.
I know, right? Yeah, I wrote this in 30 seconds, so God forgive me.
Oh yeah,
so,
2 more seconds.
So here we go. Here's a zip file. Yeah, I know. I'd have to import it though. I didn't even get my object imports.
Go ahead. Continue.
So now I've got this in there, and you know, just to be clever, I could my zip dot write, and whoa, and let's put untitled IPyNB in there. Come on, baby. Okay, and then if I try and save the zip file, I'm going to revert, and now I got untitled IPyNB in there. Okay. So why the hell would I want these things is then the question, and I don't, but I gotta, because what I'm interested in are Anki cards. Anybody played with Anki before? So Anki is a spaced repetition learning system where the idea is you make your own cards. So I'm gonna drag this guy in there. Yeah, it's big. I know. Thanks for warning me. Okay, so look, another logo. And so now this guy is opening up that zip file and then reading that database. And sometime, come on, baby.
So inside of here is a SQLite database?
Yeah, a SQLite database and some art.
Whoa.
So there's my art, and I can, you know, oh, look, it didn't get me real estate back. Let's go with this one. There we go. That's slightly better. Go away, you. And so now I want to, anybody know what this is? I don't either. Max Ernst, Europe After the Rain 2. How about that one? The Fall of somebody? Fall of the Damned. There we go. Peter Paul Rubens. Hieronymus Bosch, but I don't know what. I guess that's all I got. Oh, it's Bruegel the Elder. Oh, lame. So anyhow, there's different kinds of cards. The same model can be used. So if I open this guy up, these are actually, yeah, so that CSS that you see in there is coming out of the back end, right? Garden of Earthly Delights, Birth of Venus, Tower of Babel, I don't know, some dude. I don't know. There's a bunch of girl per earring. I know that one. This is a Rembrandt something. I don't know. Is that Jesus? Night Watch. No, okay. Anyhow, everybody looks like Rembrandt's paintings. So that's the baseline thing. Where it really comes in powerful is every time that I was doing that, every one of those changes, if it actually instrumented that change, and there's a place to write that back into this database, which if I extracted it and did a whole bunch of other nonsense, I could do it. I don't think I can open this with a zip file. Nope. If I change the name to zip file, duplicate. Come on, baby. It's just a zip file, just like a wheel. It's just a zip file. Oh, buddy, this is gonna hurt. There we go. So all those pictures. Oh, look, I didn't put a overflow any in there. Not lame. Anyhow, so those are all the files that are inside of there. Somewhere down there, there's a freaking overflow y auto. Didn't do anything. Oh my god. All right, well, whatever. So anyhow, there's more stuff in here, and it's exciting and interesting. And so there's some challenges. You know, I love license compliance. The upstream is AGPL 3. So I can't in good faith ship their algorithms. But luckily, I'm shipping in the context of teaching people about reinforcement learning. And so my idea is that is the content-based learning piece. You write your own hot rod, self-tailored spaced repetition algorithm based on learning about reinforcement learning. It's a feature. It's a feature. So anyhow, so that's all up in this janky. It's coming out of my day job at Georgia Tech, and it doesn't work yet, but yeah, under the hood, it'll have those, you know, Jupyter Lab Archive and Jupyter Lab SQLite 3. Those will just be for the content types, and you know, all the nasty stuff goes in mine. And demo or questions.
That was ridiculous.
Every time you show up, because I feel like I've at a few community calls seen evolution of like this range of work, and every time I'm like, what? And I just keep getting more and more like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you come up with this or keep one-upping yourself, but it's amazing.
Thank you. But yeah, so Jeremy, you know all this will run right up there in JupyterLite. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. I'm going to eat all your RAM. All of it.
It will, I think, eventually, yeah.
I agree, Sarah. These are really great demos, and you all, thanks for the improv, really, everyone, also. I appreciate that. That's super cool
I just like
to
the
see.
name of that project. Janky is a very good name. I've got to commend that naming.
I'm still going to get sued. Oh, God. Because they make money off of software as a service, where you put your private data in the cloud and they get paid. Man.
Are there any last comments? I know we're coming to time, so if anybody has to go for whatever reason, feel free to hop off before we wrap up. But any other thoughts on that completely unexpected demo based on the title?
That was the first time I've seen that demo. That was ridiculous. That was super cool. So how easy is it to compose these Janky cards?
Their desktop application is 120 megabytes of Qt and Rust. So it's got to be better than that. And it's not super complicated for basic front-back ones. They have a bunch of other models. Like, you know, people will use this to study for pre-med and pre-law and pass those big tests, right? And you got to just be bang, 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 bang. So they have other models for, yeah, foreign language. Oh yeah, Duolingo, take my money, right? Same thing, same exact algorithms. They just re-implemented them so they didn't get squashed by the whatever. And they've got good speech recognition, right? They actually have that piece in there. But writing new ones, you'll be able to write them in Markdown and extract them from Markdown. You'll be able to write them in notebooks and extract them from notebooks. Be able to embed them in notebook metadata, and then just build them raw. So that's a very important thing, because yeah, I just grabbed those 650 pieces of art, but it's the learning experience is significantly enhanced if you build your own cards. So that's what that PR is right now, is make some cards, but make them work in their file format, because otherwise why am I doing all this stuff, right?
So I'll be able to write janky notebooks, and I can't be happier about that. Please don't let me down. Is that true?
About what?
Like I can just write these janky cards in notebooks eventually. Like it'll be a notebook that turns into janky.
Yeah, yeah. So what I really see is having being able to embed them with Mist. So you would just like write you just like slam out a little markdown with some, you know, tick tick tick, and then like bang, card shows up, and the act of you seeing that card adds it to your library, but you can interact with it in the notebook, and that ends up in your review cycle, and it remembers where it came from. Yeah, I want that very badly.
That'll be excellent. That'll help teachers a lot. Can you deploy quizzes like this too? Like could there be like an MB grader backhaul kind of thing?
It's not for that. It's about self-building of curriculum. So you know, yes, of course, like you could go in there, you could do a bunch of things, turn in an Anki database, you know, and then have some pipeline on the back end that reads it, sure. But, you know, it's more about like, it's not about the answer that day, it's about your progress over time.
I agree. I hear you on that, but I'm thinking that this actually might provide some accessibility affordances that we might be missing, right? So
you can
if people
transform what you're putting, like the input.
Yeah, so if you had like say MB Grader and somebody was on an assistive program or an adaptive program for their learning, janky cards could be a way to get screen reader views of images, or you know, different kinds of, just, you know, for visual learners, this might be a better way to test perhaps. Yeah,
so some of the examples, like if you're trying to learn a really complex part of the body, like deep inside the body, there's some plugins where and now I'll have to make friggin' SVG edit, right? But, you know, you take an image and you blur out the labels on it, and then you slow reveal those, right? So that's I'm gonna give you a disability temporarily that helps you learn, right? That helps you recall.
I love that.
But you could do it the other way as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And you do a lot of that with CSS blurs and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, authoring's hard, right? It's so the pointy clicky is nice for some people. The CSS will be nice for some people. It's just keep it standard and keep it rocking.
Right. Hey, thanks for answering all of my questions, comments.
Thanks for the questions.
It's a good discussion. It's good to hear what you all are thinking about. I threw some stuff in the chat, but in case anyone needs to know, you can always give feedback on that survey. They're all optional questions, so if you just want to type, this was awful, this was the best, you're totally free to. And I put the agenda up for next month if anybody was inspired, but you're still sharing your screen, Nick, while you're filling that out, just so you know. Thank you.
That's how transparent he is.
I mean, it's fine. It's not like hard questions. I just want people to be able to tell me if there's something not working or if they have ideas. And yeah, you can always sign up for next month if you have ideas. I might do that, but we'll see. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop recording now, but have a great day.